Ever feel like your body is trying to tell you something, but you just don't speak the language? I've experienced that, but what if that language was brain fog? What if it was emotional burnout or even a full blown nervous system crash? And what if, just what if, your chiropractor had actually lived through it? Welcome back to Beyond Adjustments. This is the podcast that doesn't just talk about pain points, but digs into lived experiences that reshape how we feel, how we lead, and of course, how we live. I'm your host, Amin Said, and today I'm sitting down with somebody whose story is more than powerful, it's transformational. Dr. Angela Ribaste is the owner of Prairie Village Chiropractic in Kansas. And let me just say this. She's not just a chiropractor, she's a walking testimony of nervous system healing. After suffering a traumatic brain injury that could have ended her career, she reemerged with a whole new purpose and a radically different way to care for her patients. She now helps people navigate everything from brain fog to burnout, migraines, misfires, and emotional regulations. Her patients, they aren't just healing, they're thriving. Let's get into it. Dr. Ange, welcome, welcome to Beyond Adjustments.
Well, thanks for having me. Listening to your intro, it's funny. All I could think of is, well, it didn't seem as big of a deal when I was living through it. Although, as I look back, I was like, oh, that was a really big deal.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we'll get into your story a little deeper in just a second here, but from what I remember from our initial conversation, I mean, this could have taken your life actually. Um,
Yeah.
so let's rewind, right,
Okay.
to the moment that changed everything. What happened and how did your injury reshape your identity, not just as a chiropractor, but as a human?
So I went to drop off my dog at her grooming appointment, and I parallel parked, walked around the car, and I was standing on the sidewalk and reaching in my car. There was an accident in front of my car where two cars collided, and the force sent one car into my car and my car into me. And the car swept my legs and the door closed. And with the force, of course, then the door opened back up. I flew out and bounced on my head and landed a
Oh
few
my
feet
gosh.
away. And so that was the beginning. It all happened like, they say it happened so fast. Now, in that moment, of course, so many different things could have went wrong. They didn't, though. It wasn't my time. So of course, I jumped up right away to go get my dog and to see if she was okay. And some gentleman walking down the street, who poor thing saw the whole thing. I can't imagine what he saw. Grabbed a hold of me and wouldn't let me get up.
What happens like in those kind of moments? Like what goes through your head as it's happening? I know you said like almost a blur, but like do you get any kind of thoughts that kind of rush through your head?
When when I was hit, I remember thinking, "Oh my God, I was hit." But then I couldn't grab a hold of anything in the car to keep myself in it. And
Mm.
I hadn't considered, there wasn't enough time to consider that I'd be thrown out of it. So yeah, not a ton. And my first thought when I landed was, I had to get Josie. I had to make sure she was okay.
So I've heard it said that the hardest part of healing, and obviously you needed to walk through a healing journey there, is losing who you used to be. I mean, I've been through a journey not as traumatic as yours, but would you agree? Is that something that would have been a concern or is?
Oh yeah. I mean, some of it was in the moment, you know, uh, once the fog started to clear, and not the brain fog, like the moment of the intensity was, um, will I be able to practice tomorrow? It was a Friday,
Right.
so I thought, well, I have till Monday. I'll be okay.
I
I'll
got
be
2 days.
fine.
I'll be fine. I was just flung from my car, but I'm
Yeah.
okay.
And
Yeah.
even like I didn't even want to get in the ambulance, one of my friends, thankfully, I'm so grateful just the way that it worked. There was so much divine timing in it. So she rushed back to the scene because we were supposed to have lunch. And when I found my phone, I called her and she's like, "You really need to get in the ambulance." And at some point I was like, "Okay." And got in an ambulance. But unfortunately, as a doctor, that brain kicks in to what we know and manage the scene and things like that. And so even at the hospital, I was able to talk about the anatomical places I hit my head and the doctors were like, I don't think you have a concussion because they didn't see the
Gotta love
confusion.
those doctors. Yeah.
Right. Well, in that old, that you think through it, like the old knowledge in my brain was intact, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. So from the outside, people see the comeback, right?
Well,
And
yeah, and at the moment, all they saw were the injuries to my legs. They
sure.
didn't realize how much I was struggling inside, and neither did I until it was
Right.
difficult to answer questions or I was given options and I would struggle and I'm decisive most of the time unless I don't need to
Mm.
be. And there were just questions that came at me and I could not answer them. And that
Wow.
that was some of my information of something's not
Like
firing right.
like what? Like simple questions, harder like what kind of questions?
Yeah, it was the next day. I was one of my friends called me because we were going to a seminar in November, and she's like, "Okay, we have to sign up for what classes we're taking. Here are our options." And it was as if she asked me to solve the hardest problem ever. I could not.
Oh
I couldn't
man.
make a decision, and a lot of the speakers we had already seen, so we knew who.
Okay.
And I said, shit, I got hit by a car yesterday. I'm gonna need a minute because
Yeah.
and yeah,
You regroup. Yeah.
I need to regroup. Yeah.
Yeah. What did your recovery teach you about kind of the brain, the nervous system that textbooks never could?
Well, it's a dance, and I'm not sure which dance it is. It's like the dance you go 2 steps forward and 5 steps back, you know, 'cause
Yeah.
initially there was improvement. And yes, I did not go back to work on Monday. I did go back on Wednesday, on crutches, but I went back to work on Wednesday and like I could process adjusting and seeing my clients because that part of my brain was really solid, right?
Still, yeah.
Um, what I didn't know though is that I was able to rally and on my way home is when I would start to have a meltdown because I'd be so intense during the day and I'd be in that almost fight or flight mode of seeing clients and running through the motions of what I know so well. But then when I would try the recovery time, was horrible, and I would have to talk myself into getting up and doing it again the next day.
Mm,
And all I did
yeah.
was adjust and rest and adjust and go to doctor's appointments and adjust and rest. And you're right, like the life that I had built and worked so hard for, it vanished right before my eyes. You know, and it's hard for people to understand because my injuries were healing on my legs and I was walking better and they can't see what's going on inside the brain.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Kind of the same when somebody is dealing with emotional trauma, right? You don't really see it on the inside. You don't see anything physically. They're fine. They're going to work. They're taking care of their families. But on the inside, I mean, they're struggling.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like, and if I'm wrong here, tell me. But you you experienced that, like in the sense that yes, you had a brain injury physically,
Mhm.
but it also affected kind of how you were processing your feelings, trying to answer certain questions, maybe even your interactions with people that you normally interact normally with, like in an easy way, right? Is
Yeah.
that accurate?
Oh, 100%. And so
Mm,
it brought on all these emotional things that I didn't expect. Um and either there were moments I'm like, am I losing my mind? And it's like, well,
oh
no,
wow.
that's part of the injury, especially as I started to heal and then I would backslide and the backslide
Yeah.
was really hard. And what
Yeah.
people didn't see is that my assistant went to the store for me for 6 months because I couldn't go into a grocery store or
Oh
Target
wow.
or a coffee shop. And if I did, I had to run in and run out because between the lights and the noise of the people and the visual stimulation of just looking at the shelves. were really hard.
Overwhelming. Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So everything became overwhelming except in my
Mm,
office because I controlled the environment. I had someone
yeah.
my notes, I had someone managing the client flow, right? Like I was doctor, and again, in that realm, I never felt like I couldn't do what I did because it's an old part of my, I know it. I've
Mm,
already done it for so long.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
part is still the easiest part and the only part I held on to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that shift from practitioner
Mm.
to patient and back again and then back again and then back again. What's one way being on the table instead of behind it kind of made you a better dog
Well, you doctors do make the
patient?
worst patients. That is a true statement, right? And and there became a point where my friends did like my friends, my colleagues in the area. I wasn't getting better with the treatment, and so I
Okay.
could tell. And especially, I wanted to get better yesterday, so that would definitely wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And at some point, I started reaching out outside of my circle. Okay, who do you know? And I started saw other people in the area for other treatments,
Yeah.
and then I went into the medical world because I really wasn't getting better. And I realized looking back how strong my core principles of chiropractic are because the arguments, I mean, discussions I would have with the specialist would be that is not helping me heal. That's masking symptoms. What do you have?
Very
How do
true.
you heal the brain? Right? Like, how do you
Right.
heal the brain? Right. And then what I
Right.
also learned that has been huge in how I treat clients is where their limits are because what they couldn't see is my overwhelm, especially because I'm strong and I'm a driver and I could keep going, but then I would melt down and they never saw me melt down. But they also didn't ask about it. Right. So they didn't
Mm,
know what was happening on the outside when I wasn't around people. So what I learned is how to take clients where they are as much as I possibly can, even with them not being able to describe it.
yeah.
Because if someone walks into my office and they're like, well, I've tried all these treatments already, and I'm like, yeah, but if your brain feels like it's on fire, we have to calm it first.
Sure. No,
Yeah.
that
And
makes
that
that makes 100% sense. I love
and
that.
we live in a world that it puts our brains on fire, right? Like
Yeah.
all the stimulant,
Every
all the
second.
information, all that. I mean, like it wasn't out of the ordinary that I'd walk into a grocery store and see everything. Like a normal brain can handle it because we've adapted to it, right? But it's not necessarily healthy for us for the lights, the noise, the right. It stimulates us. I just couldn't narrow it down.
Mm,
So knowing how stimulated the brain is, well, most of the time, it's figuring out how to calm it first, how to calm it first, how to calm it first.
yeah.
Then
Yeah.
you can start to build and rebuild.
So yeah, so that kind of takes me into I, I want to get a little bit deeper into the topic,
Mhm.
making sure that we're using the right terminology and not overstepping in some cases. I
Yeah.
get that, right? As doctors, you want to make sure you're saying the right things. But okay, so let's get into the work, okay? Because your approach isn't your typical, pop and go chiropractic, which yes, that could add some value to somebody's life, but I definitely don't like that approach myself. But so let's talk about we'll just call it the functional aspect of the
Mhm.
brain.
Yeah.
And how does it go deeper than just standard chiropractic care?
Well, I've always looked at the body more holistically. My chiropractic um, journey was I was raised in a wellness clinic. So my early chiropractic days was all about wellness and whole body and how do we treat holistically.
Mm,
So I've always looked at it more on that aspect. That's what I was taught. It was ingrained in me, and how I practice my own wellness. And so I started adding modalities in when I saw the need. My journey led me down to Dallas to get further treatment from an amazing chiropractor that I would say saved my life.
mm,
And so much of the work was all through my eyes. And so I'm like, well, there's obviously something to it. And as I started discussing with Dr. Gade more at my visits. We would discuss how so many people have the challenges that I had, only they didn't have the acute injury.
mm,
So I first invested in a thing called Right Eye, and it measured because I didn't have the skill or the training that she did in being able to visually test eyes the way she did. And so I went into technology. And so the right eye reads, it has a camera in it and it reads eye movements. And so you can see how well someone is processing. Well, I started there. And as I measured people, it surprised me how poorly their eye movements were. And that goes back
Mm,
into brain processing. And so we start there. You know, how are they processing well? How's their balance, right? Like how's their diet? How are their thoughts? All those things come together to make the human. And
sure.
and I think back on like, BJ Palmer when he talked, in the, all the things I learned in school and people would get adjusted and those adjusted would stabilize and without a doubt we're not dealing with the same human body that they did. They just don't last the same way. The adjustments don't stabilize the same way because our system is so stressed by the chemicals and the emotions and the overwhelm in life that we've created.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
So so the functional aspect, I would say, combines kind of the principles of chiropractic with, I mean, really brain science, right? Because you're talking about the right eye technology, reading eye movements and things like that. So, um, I'm sure there's a more technical term for it, and whatever have you, like neuroplasticity or something like that, which I have no idea what it means. But,
Great term,
but
really. It really is. It's why it works. Neuroplasticity is why it all works.
oh wait, did I get that right?
You did great job. Neuroplasticity is how you can retrain the brain. That's how
Love it, love it.
even
Look
at
at that. Look at
40,
that.
I
I'm
was able
learning
to heal
something.
this brain injury. Right,
That's
like
awesome.
we retrain the neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like taking the nervous system to the gym, not just the chiropractor. Really, is what it is.
100%.
But
And figuring out, giving it more energy, taking it to the gym,
yeah,
repeating it. Right, like
yeah,
yeah.
love it, love it. So you've helped people with everything from post concussion syndrome to sleep issues, anxiety. What are some of the most common nervous system breakdowns you see, and more importantly, how do you help reset them?
Well, now I see a lot of I see a lot of brain fog. I do see a lot of overwhelm, although some it's difficult to identify, and often they present themselves as pain. Right, they'll show up in my office with pain, but it's all the other details that I keep asking about to find, right? Like on my, the questions I asked in a consultation is always like, how's your memory? How's your focus? How's your balance? Right? Like, do you feel stable when you walk? All the things like, wait, are you overwhelmed? It's questions on my questionnaire,
Mm,
so it's trying to dig. Everyone is unique. Every single person is unique. So I take it to whoever's walking in front of me. And I
mm,
have now through the years had the clients who came in with, I had, I've had this accident 20 years ago and I've not been right since. And it's a fascinating and it's not right. It just didn't heal as well as it could. The body did the best it can, but it just
yeah,
needed a little bit of support.
yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I live that. I get it 100%. So say somebody comes in, completely overwhelmed, uh, whether, we'll say brain fog, fatigue, some emotional dysregulation. What's the first visit like with you? What do you look for?
Well, we sit down and have a great talk. Right. Like, and, so much, I remember that, so much of diagnostics is in conversation. The clients will tell you what's wrong with them if you ask the right questions. Quality of the
Mm,
questions, quality of the answer. Right. So they guide me into what we're going to discuss.
yeah,
I have their paperwork. I know why they presented, things like that. Right. That's the important stuff. And it'll start my conversation, but then it keeps going,
yeah,
so, from there, and again, everyone's unique. I love the traditional chiropractic patient that walks into my office and they have pain and we work on that. So a lot of times I start with, do you drink water? How much water do you drink?
great question.
Those
Yeah,
basics, right? Like
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's brilliant at basics, right? Like what do they do? What do we need to support? What do we need to work on? Right.
yeah, yeah,
And then if someone walked in overwhelmed, I do the right eye, like, how are their eye movements? How is their brain processing things like that?
mm,
If someone is having more trouble with memory, I veer off into a thing called brain span, which does expected age of impairment. And It's a great test because it's online, so they do some online testing, and then it's an omega-3, omega-6 ratio. And so far, we see really great results when we do the work, we do the test, do the work, and then see the improvements.
Mm,
It's fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
love that. What's one thing people uh, misunderstand, like the most about the brain's role in healing? Like,
That
what do
your
we hear
body
the
has an
most?
innate ability to heal itself. It just
Mm,
needs the right amount of energy and less toxins. Right? Like it needs, and it's so it's not that simple for sure, right? There's so many pieces to it that aren't that simple. But if when I looked at when I can look back on my journey, it was that thought that kept me going, right?
mm,
Like, how does the body heal? What am I missing? Right? What's keeping it from healing? I know it,
mm,
right? So if we go into the principle and of okay, the body can heal itself, what does it need to heal?
mm.
What is it missing? What is it lacking? And what's disturbing it?
I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine the other day, who actually, I won't get into the details of what he just walked through, but he had an injury, right? He needed surgery on his leg, and then post that surgery had some complications. Um, Again, won't get into the details of it because some of the people watching this show might know who he is. Just trying to keep it private, um, but we were having a conversation, and I was joking with him when I said this. I said, you need to go see a chiropractor or something like that. And then I was like, oh, let me backtrack. You do need to go see a chiropractor. And then he was like, oh, I don't know, we'll see. But the conversation turned into, well, everything stems from our brain. Everything stems from our brain.
Right.
Our nervous system controls everything. So if there's any kind of interruption, I mean, even if the communications are coming through, they might be just slow, right?
Mhm.
Maybe, whatever the case. Anyway, that's the kind of conversation we had. But it amazes me that and I was, number one that didn't know about any of this, but how little we know as a community, society, just as a whole, how much our brains need to be taken care of in order for everything else to function. And then the path to that is your spine, it's your neck, it's your nervous system, right?
Mhm.
And then,
Well,
of course, the emotional aspects, right? Of course, and the things that we're talking about.
and we are taught that there's nothing that we can do,
Yeah.
because understanding so much about the brain has come by. I mean, I don't know how many decades it's been, but
Yeah.
and in fairness, it wasn't until probably the last, I don't know, 5, 10 years, and I realized it didn't dawn on me because I went through chiropractic school and learned the body, right? Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
most people don't understand how their body works, and
Yeah.
I feel for them because
Yeah.
that's got to be hard. You live in this thing and you don't really understand it,
Mm.
and I mean that has to be a challenge, like a foreign invader, all the time.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. And honestly, we could chat about this all day, but
Oh,
I
for
do
sure.
need to
Yeah.
move on because we're running a little bit low on time, and I want
Yeah.
to make sure we get in all the topics that we want to cover. And the next thing I want to talk about is the family care, the kind of the
Mhm.
emotional health as well. One thing that stands out about one of the things that you and I talked about was kind of your heart for families, and that you want to start working more with kiddos, and you want to focus on the family. You want to, it's because it's such a core part of really our societies, right? If we're taking care of the families, we're taking care of our communities. If we start from the kids, then they're going to have less issues later on. And when they become parents, then they're going to be able to help. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's a huge domino effect. So that's kind of one thing that really stood out to me from our conversations with you, Dr. Ange. And why do you think, other than what I just said, obviously, why do you think it's so important for us to focus on kids or even the parents, and then kind of having that domino effect take over?
Well, if we could, I mean, even when kids start, sports or soccer or just life, right? Like if when
Yeah.
they're old enough, we have some measurements on how they're doing, right? Like if we had right eye, if we knew, and then every time, every season, they get remeasured, and if something is off, it's a lot easier to correct it when it's mild versus when they walk in with
Yeah.
symptoms.
Yeah.
If we could change the education into they understand that it's easier to keep a body healthy than to make it healthy, right? Like those
That's good.
pieces are so huge. And I deal a lot in the older, the when it comes to memory and focus, in the older population because they're the ones who
Yeah.
are struggling with it right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although that mid section and around my age, I'm seeing it more and more and more. But if we keep backing it up, I mean, and through the years, I have thought like, well, how would my life have been different if my parents understood chiropractic differently? If they understood,
Mm,
right? Like I was a really sick kid, but they didn't really know what to do. Like, they didn't understand it,
sure.
so they kept taking me to the same doctor. They kept doing the same thing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if we can
Mm-hmm.
if we could have changed that, what would have been different for me, right?
Yeah. No, I 100% get that. I mean, even in the more kind of I don't know if I would call it acute, but more severe situations when it comes to like scoliosis, like my kiddos are dealing with right now, because we caught it when we caught it, we were able to do something about it because of their age.
Mhm.
My daughter, who's younger than my son, was able to get out of scoliosis, even like from that medical term scoliosis. She's now at like 9 degrees, and it's phenomenal what chiropractic care has been able to do for her. She started at 30 when we started her
Wow,
treatments. Yeah,
that's
it's insane.
amazing.
It's insane. It's
That is
absolutely
awesome.
yeah. Yeah, we're in awe of just kind of God's design and what He's been able to do, and just the fact that chiropractic care exists and was able to do this for her is
Mhm.
phenomenal. Um, but we caught it when we caught it, right?
Right,
And it's only because we knew what we knew with my son. And if we knew what we knew with my son earlier, right, we would have been
right,
able to catch it earlier and would have gotten better. And then so the sooner you start taking care of your nervous system,
right.
the healthier life you will have, right? And if I'm being real, a lot of the emotional regulation issues in kids
Mhm.
get labeled as behavioral when in reality it's really the nervous system just crying out for help.
Well, they're on fire, right? Like
Yeah.
it's they're on fire and they
Yeah,
don't know what else to do,
yeah,
right? They yeah.
for sure. Can you explain the connection between the nervous system imbalances and emotional health in kids?
Oh gosh. I mean, that is such a broad topic. It's so
Yeah.
huge, right? Like, it and well, I would say it goes the same way with anyone else, right? Like when I was early in practice, a client came in and she said, I she had seen me a few times and she said, I don't know if this is something to talk to you about or I need to see a psychologist. And I was like, well,
Right.
hit me up. What you got?
Start here. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's start here. And then,
Yeah.
what do you got? And she said,
Sure.
what can chiropractic change my mood? And I was like, well, yeah. And so I went into, your brain, we adjust you, it calms things down, right? Like your nervous system isn't firing as much, right? Like all of this. And I go on and on and I go, why? And she's
Yeah.
like, well, because my coworkers say I'm not such a bitch. And I was like, well, there you go. And what a profound thing, right? For a young, I
I
was
love
young. I
it.
was maybe
Yes.
my
Yes.
first year or 2 years in practice. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, hey, yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me, because and I used to tell my assistant, she retired, but my old assistant, when someone would walk in and they were just struggling and she's like, she was worried, like, are they unkind? Or then I'm like, just give them a couple of visits. And we'd start to see the light come back in them and we'd start to see them lighter and smile again, right? Like you get to see those transformations. This is the coolest job I can imagine, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Okay, when somebody finally sees kind of their challenges through that kind of neural lens, right, that we're
Yeah.
talking about, what's that aha moment like for you?
Uh, what part? Like when they see improvement or when they actually see the challenge?
So like for me, I relate it to, okay, I've been teaching my child this for the last 16 years, and then one day they wake up and they're like, "Well, I think I'm gonna A, B, and C." I'm like, oh my gosh, you get it. Like that kind of, that aha moment of, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, you get it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, gosh, it is, what's it like for me?
Yeah. Yeah. As the practitioner.
It well, it reminds you every day because it's not always easy in the office, right? And it reminds me, just about every day that it's like, this is why I'm supposed to be here.
Got
This is
it.
what I was designed to do, right? Like,
Okay.
because you can see
Okay.
that change and it lights up, it is that reminder of, it's like that story of the starfish and the kid throwing it in, right? Like,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
mattered to that one, right? It mattered to that one.
Yeah.
When my aunt told her daughter once, because she was getting after her about her food, and she's like, "You sound like Ange." I was like, "Oh, someone's listening."
All right, I do have a challenge question for you. So
Yeah,
if you could kind of snap your fingers and have every person understand one nervous system truth, what would it be?
that's a great question. Um, what we do matters. Know what we do matters. How we think,
Mm,
how we eat, how we move. All of those things affect our nervous system,
mm,
right? Like, in every opportunity is a chance to improve it or degenerate it, right?
yeah,
Like, in all aspects. That's in, our spine and our brain and how our nervous system functions,
yeah.
and yeah. And even at the height of my injuries, anything I did, that wasn't the healthiest thing for me, I would instantly feel
Mm,
anything, and it took me longer to feel the good things though. It took me longer to see the healing parts, but it
sure.
was quick if I did something that was like, "Oh, my brain didn't like that."
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the other day, and I've had this conversation time and time again. I was speaking with one of the chiropractors I deal with on a, you know, we talk often essentially, and one of the things he said, which he's also said pretty much every conversation we've had, is that our bodies record everything that happens to us. And then the first thought I had from that was, "What's up?"
I'm so sorry. Like, 2 birds just they're watching. They just flew to the window and they're sitting there watching me right now, and it was startling. I apologize.
No, all good.
Hey,
I
guys.
might actually keep that. Yeah, that's awesome. That's funny. And kind of what came to my mind is, I don't know why, just that TiVo. If you remember TiVo when it first came out,
Oh, yeah.
you would record shows, right? You would record everything that you wanted to record. Sometimes we would use TiVo to just record and then go back and see what we wanted. But then we had to kind of remove all the things that didn't make sense. Or, right? So that was just kind of what came to my head. And our bodies record every single thing that happens to it. And what we have to do is go back and make that adjustment, delete the things that don't need to be there, and kind of readjust our mindset, readjust our bodies physically, readjust the way we think, readjust the foods we eat. Like all those things matter. And I love what you said, that everything we do matters, because that's really it in a nutshell. Everything
Right,
we do matters.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. All right. So let's shift a little bit. I want to talk about your practice. So going through what you did, a lot of people would have stepped back from their practice. You went to work on Monday, so so
It was a
so there's
Wednesday. I mean, my legs didn't work on
or
Monday,
or
so I waited
Wednesday.
till
Okay,
Wednesday.
okay, Wednesday. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I take that back. But what gave you the fuel to not just recover, but to build something new?
Necessity,
Mm,
right? Like, I mean, there was a magical line that got me to the clinic in Dallas and to the right doctor that, I mean, there was certainly, um and and so everything I've done in practice has been out of necessity, right? Like, and oh, how grateful I am that I get to learn the lessons at the same time or first, right? Like, I get to go through them and then clients start to appear. And
yeah.
what it has become when they start, I have several say the same thing and they're not improving and they don't know what to do, right? Like, and so I start digging in what's next.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? And there wasn't I mean, like, what else was I gonna do? I was designed to be a chiropractor. Like, I
There you
had to
go.
figure it out, right?
That's your
Like,
calling.
you know,
Absolutely.
and
Love
I
it.
put my life's work into this. So I
Yeah.
love it. There
Yeah.
wasn't like, oh, I could do this now. I mean, no,
Yeah.
right? Like, so it
That's
was,
awesome.
and that, I mean, the worst thing I could have done, I did shut down for a week because I was told to by one of my doctors. I was here a week and then I was told to shut down for a week, and so I did.
Mm,
But
mm,
me going home, it would have destroyed me. Like
I
I
get
would have
that.
that's where I would have started losing, and practice took a heck of a hit. And over the last few years, it's been a rebuilding process.
Yeah. And good for you for continuing on and pushing through the challenges because a lot of people just wouldn't, Dr. Ange, and honestly, kudos and good for you for doing that. So
Thank you.
Prairie Village, yeah, absolutely. Prairie Village Chiropractic doesn't really like, even from your online presence, doesn't even feel like a cold clinical setting, right? It's more like a healing retreat. What makes your space and energy so different?
Uh, I created it that way, right? Like and again, I was that sick kid that went into doctor's offices all the time. In fact, crazy Cleveland Chiropractic. When I started pre-pro, the pre-med program, they had purchased my medical doctor's office. And so for 8 months, I went up to the same floor, to the
Mm,
same room
mm,
for my classes. And
that is
as
crazy.
I walked down the hall the first several months, I felt that sickness like a kid.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's
there
crazy.
I know, isn't that weird? And so when I walked out on the floor and got off the elevator, I'm like, this can't be happening.
Oh my goodness.
And so I wanted to create something different. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want it to be cold, like, right? Like client, it's not uncommon this once a year probably someone says, "Why don't you have a massage therapist?" I'm like, "Cuz I'm too loud. My laugh is too loud. I can't be quiet for them."
That's awesome.
Yeah, my
The
dog's here. He runs the plays, I mean, so
as he should, of
at
course. I mean,
100%, he's really good at
yeah,
it. Wait,
yeah,
he's good at it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good, good. Glad you got him. That's great.
Yeah.
So that difference is felt really in your messaging too. It's clear, it's warm, it's authentic. But with so much noise online, how do you keep your message aligned?
Hell, that's a new challenge all the time. I mean, it
Yeah,
really is,
yeah.
it is that, how do you stay clear and stay in your lane, right?
Mm,
Like that's what I was taught to, stay in my lane. This is what I do.
yeah,
Well, I was taught by my mentor, you just keep loving people up, right? Like whoever walks in the door is the one
that's
you love
good.
next.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Um, so you work with people who, I mean, not just you, I would say just chiropractors in general, really, work with people who will walk in and say, I've tried everything. I've tried everything.
Yeah.
And so that means that doesn't just mean they've tried everything. That means on the practitioner side, on the chiropractor side, that means you're getting really tough cases, right? So what keeps you grounded when those kind of tough cases bubble up?
Well, I always tell clients that one, we're going to look for something they haven't tried yet, right? Like, and sometimes as I'm asking them questions, I can almost see they're like, "What does this have to do with anything?"
Mm,
I'm like, "No, remember you've tried everything else, so I'm looking for something that you haven't done yet, or a piece of the puzzle, right? Like I'm looking for a different piece of the puzzle."
mm,
And and so it stays because I know that there's a reason they're in my office. And part of my messaging when I worked on my website with my writer, she said at the end of my interview, she said, "What I see is that you want to offer hope."
mm.
And so, that's such a core philosophy in my practice, is that I want people to have hope.
Yeah, I
And
love
I
that.
tell them, if I can't figure it, we'll find someone else who can.
That's good too.
Yeah.
See? Not a lot of chiropractors would say that, Dr. Ange. I think it gets dangerous when somebody says, I can help everyone.
No, I can't.
I
And
can't,
I can't help someone heal more than they want
absolutely.
to heal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. When somebody claims that, in my opinion, I think that's borderline malpractice, really, because we don't all have answers to everything, right? We're stronger together. That's just my opinion on that.
Oh, for sure.
Um, yeah. So what would you say to another chiropractor going through burnout or facing their own health challenge who's, wondering if they can keep going?
Right. I would say, back to back to the basics, right? Like what you love,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I was taught, I was blessed with such an incredible mentor, and she said, when things start to get there, how do you serve more? Right? Like, how do you give more?
Mm,
And so when my brain gets a little bit over and I'm like, there's so much to do, and I'm like, well, who do I give back to now? Right? Like,
mm,
how do I call someone who's on my mind that I can just say, hey, I was thinking about you? Because often it's when they need it.
yeah.
Right.
It's very
And
good.
that back to like what have you tried? Right. Like with the health challenges, it's one of the things is, and I'm the only chiropractor here, right? Like, so it's often I ask chiropractors because I heard this in at master circle over and over again. How often do you get adjusted? How often do you get adjusted?
Mm,
Right. Like, so I have to leave my office unless one of my friends so lovingly shows up in it to get adjusted. Right. Like, and they'll adjust me too. But every week I get adjusted, if not more than that. So that's
yeah.
one of the things I find with other and sometimes with other chiropractors is because we are the lone wolf in the office. We don't take that time to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what a lot of emerging DCs don't realize is that for the most part, chiropractic practices have just one doctor. Um, there's there's obviously some that grow and they'll hire an associate and whatnot.
Mhm.
But on average, I would say more than half from the studies I've read, it's just one doctor,
Yeah.
and it's easy for to burn out. It's easy because also there's the aspect of running a business that they don't even think about in chiropractic school, right?
Right.
And then they jump in. Oh, I'm going to open my practice, and the design is beautiful, and it's going to be warm, and my foyer is going to look like I'm going to have a coffee station here, and right? They think of the
Right.
brand, everything, all of it, right? And then they go in, and it's like, what did I just get myself into? And it's hard for those that just kind of jump in that don't realize that aspect of it, right? There's still that running the business aspect. There's still the patient care aspect. There's still the, employee aspect if you have any, etc. and so on, right? And burnout's real. Burnout's
Mhm.
real. You lean on your colleagues, right?
Yeah.
Lean on your mentors, right? Things like that. So that's great advice. I love
No.
that.
When I started this practice, so I'd been in practice 6, 7 years before I opened my own. I was an associate, which I had an incredible experience as an associate. I'm so grateful. And so as I stepped, every kid has to leave the nest. So as I stepped
Yeah.
out onto my own, my coach, Janice Hughes, told me, she's like, you need to go to this mastermind group. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. So I ended up wherever it was the first time, I think Florida or Boston. And I met an incredible group of people. And
Mm,
and many of them are dear friends to me now. But at the time that I walked in, I was the youngest one owning my own practice.
wow.
They were 10, 20, 30, 40 years ahead of me. But they just
Wow.
took me in, right? Like, and so I built this community of knowing that if I'm struggling, I could always reach out to one of these docs and say, what do you think? Right? Like, in fact,
Yeah.
actually, I'm going to visit 3 of them this weekend, 4 of them this
Nice.
weekend.
Nice.
So like, it is that like we are so on this hill by ourselves that we have to
Yeah.
build community.
Mm.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little about the vision for the future for chiropractic. You're part of a growing, I would say, movement.
I hope.
Chiropractors. What's that?
I hope.
Yeah, I would think at least, right?
Yeah,
Chiropractors, they're
yeah,
really helping, heal brains, not just backs. We're
yeah.
we're and this is partly why I'm doing this podcast, even because we need to get this information out there. have people realize, hey, chiropractic is more than just, a PI, or sorry, but personal injury situation. Okay, yeah, you got into a car accident, great, wonderful, go see your chiropractor. Yes, 100%, but it's way
Right.
more than that. But where do you see the kind of brain based, neurology based chiropractic heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think there's definitely, I mean, there's a movement towards that. You see it all over, I mean, and I know my algorithms are because I look for it, right? But, you see it more and more as like, okay, well, how do we dig into more understanding of how the body works
Mm,
as the patient perspective, right? Like what do I need to do for myself? Because, we have great crisis care, but like, how does someone
yeah.
get well? How do they stay well? How do they decrease the risk of dementia down the road? Right. Like, and it's
Right.
all
Right.
the things that we do. So my hope is that that starts to emerge and people start
Yeah.
asking the question is why are we doing what are we doing not working?
Mm,
Right. Why are we as a
yeah.
nation getting more unhealthy?
Right.
Right.
Asking questions.
And
Yeah.
we're the wellness docs, right? We're the
Yeah.
ones who've been doing it for, well over 125 years, right? Like, and
Yeah.
so, we're the ones that have always been doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that I my hope is the same, but I agree. I think we need to start asking questions. I think that's the key. People
Yeah.
and people are asking questions. They're more kind of they're inquiring more about, hey, well, why are you giving me this pill, doc? Right?
Uh,
And I think that's critical. If we could just start there, where and not in an arrogant way. I'm not saying that, we as patients are going to know more than our doctors.
no, no.
If you're walking into a heart doctor's office because you're having heart issues, I'm not saying to push back on everything. No, but ask the right questions, because sometimes, you might help them uncover or discover something for you and for your care. So,
But I think there's some understanding to it too. Is there,
yeah.
along with this, I mean, and I say to clients that when I got hit by the car, I got the ambulance and I went to the hospital.
Yeah.
Is my brain bleeding? Right? Like,
Yeah.
are my legs broken? Right? Like,
Yeah.
those are the questions. I went to the right place. And once they
That
were like,
acute care. Yeah.
we are done, I went right to wellness, right? Like, how do I move towards wellness now? Right. But I
Yeah.
went, you go into acute, but then you start asking the questions. What else can I do?
Mm-hmm.
How can I make this better so it doesn't get worse?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's good. Yeah, for sure. One concern that I do have, though, I think neurological or neurology based chiropractic is becoming this just fun term now, and offices are just slapping it on their brick and mortar storefronts and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which if I'm being honest, any chiropractic care that you get is going to help, whatever it is.
Right.
Um, but there's a difference between a doctor that understands what neurologically based chiropractic care is, and one is that's just using it as a buzz term, right?
Right.
So that's just one concern that I have there. Anyway, but that's just me.
Well,
Um,
and there are,
yeah.
there's different levels to it, right? Like what I do, and I've been solid on this all along that
Mm,
um I don't want to treat me. I
mm,
was so broken. I needed the docs trained in the depths of what they did,
mm,
right? Like the 20% of those docs, right? Like that's a whole nother level,
mm,
of specialty, which that is not in my present or my future because that's what they do. And
yeah.
it's genius level, right? Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
but I see so much of the other things that, need to be addressed. And
Mm,
chiropractic has always been neurology. We just didn't talk about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That's very
Yeah.
true. All right, Dr. Ange,
Oh,
what is one, or maybe even not just one, but what's on the horizon for you personally? Like any projects, events, big dreams in the works?
well, that's a great question. This past year I have been celebrating my 50th birthday. And so that has been a big focus of celebrating and honoring myself. And so that has been huge.
I wouldn't have given you a day over 40, just FYI.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. So those were big things to check off my list. Like I took my first 2-week vacation out of my practice. It was
Wow.
incredible. I went to Bali in New Zealand. It was amazing. Yeah.
I'm not jealous at all, at all. But
Yeah.
let's
It,
keep
I mean,
going. Yeah.
it was my birthday present.
Good for you.
So, those things are big for me. And actually you asking how I stay out of burnout, I travel, I explore, I look for
Mm,
adventure, right? Like if
mm.
I start to feel stagnant, and it's not a running, it's more like, okay, where's my next adventure?
Yeah, yeah.
Gives me a chance I can drive really hard as long as there's a moment where I go, okay, I get to step back.
Mm,
As long as there's that time frame of when my next break is.
yeah.
And that's one of the big things that keeps me out of burnout. I love to explore, and clients with new problems, or no one has helped me,
Nice.
is like a
And
piece
it's
of
a
that
change of
adventure.
pace. Really, at the end of
Yeah.
the day. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
one of the big things, like for the office, is that I want to keep expanding the brain program, narrowing it in. I'm learning more all the time on, okay, so this is how they respond. And this is okay, so what do we do next? How do we
Yeah.
serve them better? How do we connect to them in other ways? Right. So this is a whole growing. I would have said 2 years ago, I want to create a brain program, and now I'm in it. And so now I'm just redefining it and figuring out. And I'm like,
Nice.
how do I change my space so I have enough room for it even?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's
It's
good. That's
good.
good.
It is. I'm grateful.
Yeah. So then, all right, here's a fun question for you. If you could fund or build one thing, no limits, like whatsoever,
Mhm.
to accelerate healing for people dealing with, chronic stress or emotional dysregulation or brain fog or whatever, what would you create?
I don't have to run it, do I?
No, you can oversee it from Bali.
Okay, okay, good. Well, no, not from Bali. New Zealand, maybe. I really like
Okay, New Zealand.
France. I mean, that was good too. But I like in almost like, I don't want to say spa, somewhere between a spa but not a hospital, right? Like to where clients step in and we just here's the test we run, here's what they do for a period of time, right? And I know there are clinics similar to that. When I went to Dr. Goday's clinic, I was there a whole week. So but I think that if they could get acupuncture and chiropractic every day, and and manage their food, but then teach them how to eat,
Mm,
right? Like
mm.
change that perspective. And I know, like Maribel, I've not been
Education.
there yet,
Yeah.
but I know places like that are similar. But I
Yeah.
don't think, it's a shorter term.
Mm,
Not that people need to be there for months, but if they're really chronically ill, they need those IVs probably regularly. They need
mm.
those practitioners that see outside, and that team of practitioners to work together and build a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I just made
that's
that up.
awesome.
I have not thought of it before.
That's awesome though. That's here. That's it's literally right here, right in your heart.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I
I
think
love
that,
that.
change that. But then they would need support in their real life too.
Mm, mm.
They would need to know how to be supported outside of it, because that's the key, right? Like we could do things in containment, but then when we go back to our life, we're the only one that changed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's so I went through a health coaching program with my chiropractor a few weeks ago, and in hopes of me losing some weight, maybe gaining some muscle, right? That's kind of why I did it. And I did. So thankfully I lost like 40 pounds, which is great. But I would give every last pound back just to gain the perspective that I gained, that mental shift,
Yeah.
because that tool alone will help me for the rest of my life.
Right.
Um, so you're right. Once we like leave your care or anybody, like we're the only ones that have the power over what happens next at the end of the day. So that's good. That's good.
And all of
All
our
right.
decisions,
What's that?
all of our decisions, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and how do we say no to the cookie?
Yeah.
every time. Not, and maybe not every time, but like,
Yeah.
what is that thought process that makes us go towards that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So the truth is there's somebody listening right now that feels stuck.
Sure.
They feel, maybe they feel misunderstood. Maybe they feel defeated. What do you want them to hear right now?
There is always hope.
Mm. There's a lot of power in that statement because, sorry, excuse me.
Okay.
Wow, that's a simple statement to make, but very powerful. Powerful enough to choke me up a little bit here. But yeah, hope is such a heavy word that's that's misused and underused sometimes. But there is always hope. There
Yeah.
is always hope. There's an answer for what you're walking through. Um, we're not sitting here saying chiropractic care is the answer, be all end all. But we are saying that if you are feeling misunderstood, if you are feeling defeated, if you are feeling stuck, let's start by let's start by checking your health. Like let's start by checking your alignment. Let's start by checking all those things matter. But there's definitely hope. I've experienced it myself. So yeah, good, short, beautiful answer. Love it. Love it.
Thank-
Love it. All right. So how can people connect with you, work with you, learn more about Prairie Village Chiropractic?
well, my website or
Okay.
call in the office. And it's pvchiro.com.
Okay.
So I mean, you have listeners, I'm sure, all over, right?
Yeah.
So they can always
Throughout the
call the
US.
office and start there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll have all that information, by the way, in the description. So wherever you're listening, whether audio, video, all that fun stuff, you'll get the location, phone number, website, socials, all that fun stuff will be in there for you guys to check out.
Cool.
Dr. Ange and all the amazing stuff that she's doing. So, all right, one final challenge question for you. What's the one non negotiable truth about healing that you want everyone to know before they close this episode?
You cannot be healthy and poison yourself.
Expand on that.
Well, if what we put in our pie hole is poison, we cannot be healthy.
Kind of like what we put in our thoughts too.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, whether in that, whether we think we can be healthy or we think we can't, that's a really good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Your answers, man. You're awesome.
Thank
No, really, I love it.
you.
You've been great, and really, thank you again for taking the time out of your day to join me on this episode and answering all the tough questions. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you again for being a guest on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and hopefully we can do this again sometime soon.
For sure.
Yeah. So, well, that's it for today's episode of Beyond Adjustments, where sometimes the biggest breakthrough isn't a crack or a pop, it's a quiet rewiring of the brain that brings someone back to life. A huge thanks to Dr. Ange for bringing the real, the raw, and the regenerative today. If this episode spoke to you, or if you know somebody who's struggling to feel like themselves again, share this conversation, see what it does, right? Because healing doesn't always start with pills or protocol. Sometimes it starts with a story. Until next time, keep adjusting your spine, your story, and your spirit. I'll see you in the next one.